presented by Auraverse, where consciousness, earth and inner wisdom move as one. Showcase your work at auraverse.network and let your voice travel across worlds.
Before we begin, allow your breath to grow soft and unhurried, and imagine that beneath every movement of your life there is a quiet current already flowing in the right direction. Welcome. I am C.S. Douglas, and this is Codex Æternum, the Rational Bible, a journey through the hidden architecture of power and the living conscience of the universe.
This program is endorsed by Authorpedia, the world's only encyclopedia exclusively dedicated to authors, a living archive where writers and thinkers are immortalized through literature. Visit authorpedia.org and become part of our enduring legacy.
In Book 6, The Sages, we now enter Episode 88, Laozi and the Gentle Power of the Tao. Picture the old valleys of China, mist lifting from rivers at dawn, terraced fields following the shape of the hills, bamboo bending but not breaking in the wind. Out of this landscape, a voice arises that speaks less like a command and more like a whisper you realize you have been hearing your whole life. They call him Laozi, and he points not to a god on a throne, but to something even more intimate and vast, the Tao, the way. The Tao is not a thing among things. It is the living pattern by which all things move. It is the nameless source from which rivers and galaxies, thoughts and seasons grow and return. You cannot see it directly any more than you can see the wind, yet you can recognize it in the way clouds form and dissolve, in the way a tree leans toward the light, in the way your own life has repeatedly found paths you did not plan. Laozi tells us that the art of living is not to seize control of this pattern, but to align with it. The Tao is already flowing. Our task is to stop swimming upstream out of habit. We learn this alignment not by abstract theory, but by watching nature carefully. How rain falls when it must, how flowers open when they are ready, how night does not argue with day, but simply yields when its time is done. To explain the Tao, Laozi turns again and again to water. Water does not announce itself. It does not demand a particular shape. It takes the lowest places, filling hollows that everything else ignores. And yet by yielding, it wears down stone. By flowing around obstacles instead of attacking them head-on, it arrives almost everywhere. To be like water, he suggests, is to be gentle without being weak, adaptable without losing oneself, persistent without strain. From this image arises the famous principle of Wu Wei, non-action, or more precisely, effortless action. Wu Wei is not laziness. It is the state in which what you do is so well-timed and appropriate that it does not feel forced. Think of moments when you have been completely absorbed in a task, conversation flowing without rehearsal, hands working skillfully without conscious calculation, creative ideas arriving exactly when needed. In such moments, you are not pushing the river. You are moving with it. Wu Wei is that way of being, made into a way of life. Laozi insists that the Tao is present everywhere, in heavens and forests, in cities and quiet rooms, in rulers and children, in the smallest blade of grass. When you begin to see the Tao in all things, reverence arises naturally. You discover that nothing is truly ordinary. Each thing is an expression of the same hidden source, taking on a temporary shape before returning to the formless. From this perspective, the highest virtues do not have to be imposed. They grow from alignment with the Tao itself. Laozi speaks of treasures, simplicity, humility, compassion that appear again and again in later readings of his work. These are not decorations on the path. They are the way the Tao feels when it moves through a human life. Simplicity is the art of returning to what is essential. It is not a war against possessions, but a refusal to let endless wanting scatter the mind. When you simplify, in your schedule, your speech, your ambitions, you create open space in which the movement of the Tao can actually be noticed. In that openness, contentment begins to arise by itself, because you are no longer leaning away from the present moment toward a future that never arrives. Humility grows from recognizing your place in the larger pattern. You are not the center of the universe, yet you are not insignificant either. You are a necessary note in a vast composition. Humility is simply a clear awareness of this proportion. You do what is truly yours to do, without pretending to be more or less than you are. Again, Laozi points to water, which flows to the lowest places and nourishes all things without demanding recognition. Such humility does not weaken you. It frees you from the exhausting project of defending an image. Compassion completes this triad. When you feel your connection to the rest of life, kindness ceases to be a duty and becomes a natural response. The Tao expresses itself as a concern for the well-being of the whole, because the whole is what it is. To care for others, for animals, for the land, is to care for the larger body of which you are a part. This compassion extends inward as well. Harshness toward yourself is only another form of resistance. Taken together, simplicity, humility, and compassion form a way of walking. You no longer force outcomes by tightening your jaw and pushing against everything. You listen, you respond, you withdraw when the moment calls for it. You step forward when the path opens. There is strength in this softness. Laozi loves the paradox that the soft and weak overcome the hard and strong. Over time, stone erodes while water remains. To live by the Tao is therefore not to escape the world, but to move through it differently. You still act, you still work and plan, yet underneath your activity there is a trust that the way is larger than your agenda. You begin to experiment with letting go of unnecessary struggle, with saying no where you once forced a yes, with allowing some problems to unfold instead of attacking them instantly. Often you find that when you stop clutching the wheel, the vehicle of your life does not crash at all. It begins to steer itself along a gentler road. Laozi's teaching invites you to relax your faith in control and deepen your faith in responsiveness. The Tao has its own timing. Seeds do not sprout faster because you shout at them. Rivers do not arrive at the sea by trying harder. In the same way, there are seasons in your life that cannot be rushed without damage. When you trust this, a quiet courage emerges, the courage to let things ripen at their own pace. Carry this revelation as a soft instruction. Where, in your present circumstances, could you be more like water? Where could you release one layer of complexity, one clenched expectation, and see what the Tao does with the space you free? You do not have to know the entire map of the way. You only have to sense the next unforced step and allow yourself to take it. In our next episode, we remain in ancient China but turn from rivers and valleys to courtyards, families, and cities. There we meet Confucius, a sage who looked not only at the flow of nature, but at the delicate choreography of human relationships. He will speak to us of social harmony and moral integrity, how kindness, respect, and responsibility can turn a collection of individuals into a living, ethical community, and how the way expresses itself not only in solitude, but also in the way we stand before one another. Our next sponsor is Everly Books Publishing Group, a traditional independent press serving both new and established writers. Everly Books welcomes unsolicited manuscripts submitted directly through everlybooks.org.